pals. So this is something I have been wanting to talk about for a while. Sorry, my hair is freaking... Okay. And that is my relationship with food, which is, like, fine, but also complicated. Yeah, let's talk about it. So I work as a nutrition educator, so I lately, in the past year, have thought about food way more often than I used to. But, like, you think about it every day anyway because you get hungry, you need to eat, yada, yada, yada. And so as a nutrition educator, I teach people who are 3 up to 93 about healthy eating, why it's important to eat healthy food, feed them different fruits, vegetables, cook a meal with them, talk about shopping on a budget, do whatever to encourage healthy eating. I definitely used to eat healthier than I do now. I've been kind of in a slump with food, I guess, where I'm just more likely to go snack on a bag of chocolate chip cookies or go down the road to McDonald's or Taco Bell or whatever when I'm feeling hungry. And I definitely have had a treat yourself mentality when it comes to those things, but then I'm doing that all the time and it's not great. So on the one hand, I feel like it's good that I'm not paying so much attention to the calories I'm eating or whatever. I'm not restricting myself, which I think can be a good thing. And I definitely think more consciously about what I'm eating, but sometimes that doesn't sway my decision to eat junk, which isn't good. But the two big things I feel like with my diet, my relationship to food, have been my IBS and my depression. So I'm going to start with depression because I feel like that's something that's much less discussed. So I have never had an eating disorder, just as a disclaimer, but as part of my depression, I have had disordered eating habits. So you can ask literally anyone in my life ever, my stomach is usually this big. I just can't eat a lot in a sitting, but I eat a lot throughout the day because I'm a snacker, because I can only eat small bits at a time before I'm full, which also encourages me snacking on junk all the time and just eating small things from fast food places, like a burrito or a thing of fries or whatever it is. I don't know, I feel like people just don't really talk about how depression really has a big impact on your appetite, at least for me it did. So it suppressed my eating a lot. So not only is generally when I'm feeling mentally, physically well, my appetite is small, when it's suppressed, it's way smaller. So when I'm just in that headspace, people in my life probably are convinced that I'm gonna starve or something because I just don't eat a lot of food because my appetite is suppressed. And it was crazy when I first came out of a really long depressive episode to notice how much more food I was able to eat because my appetite came back. So that's been a big thing for me for a while. And I think too, as part of depression and anxiety and being stressed or whatnot, I just have a sensitive stomach. My stomach can get upset that over nothing, and it doesn't make any sense. And I mean, obviously having IBS, that is a big thing as well. So I don't know, my IBS hasn't been the worst thing in terms of my relationship with food, but it hasn't been great either. So there was an 8-month period where I was in the ER every single month because I would eat something and my body would just freak out. And it was so annoying, one, because it would only freak out in the middle of the night. So at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., I would wake up with the most intense pain I think I've ever felt in my stomach region. And whatever it was that I'd eaten that made my stomach so upset, my body just wanted it out. But the thing was, by the point I was in pain, I had already digested the food past my stomach. So my body would be trying to puke it up, but there's nothing in there. So just throwing up nothing basically. And I think that was kind of scary to realize I'm kind of scared of food too. I mean, now it's been many months since I've been in the ER, which has been awesome. But for that period of time, it was like every month or so, like around that time, I would start being so scared of what I was eating because I didn't know what was going to set my IBS off, when it was going to go off. Like, it was awful. And that's just a scary thing, to be scared of food and what you're putting into your body, because it might potentially harm you and you don't know. And IBS is definitely like a risk game. I've talked to other people with it, and it's kind of just like you eat something and pray and hope that it's not going to try and like kill your insides. But those are just things I've been thinking about a lot lately and wanted to chat about a little bit. So it is much later than when I filmed that last clip. I am currently at a hotel in the Boston area, visiting my boyfriend. So anyway, on my way down today, I was watching a lot of health videos on YouTube just to pass the time on the bus. I watch a lot of health YouTubers just because I'm curious to see what other people do to feel good, like what food they eat, what workouts they're doing, but also as like motivation for myself. So to talk to you while I'm eating my dinner, so I don't want it to fall, but I have a chicken panini here with some peppers in it, and then some Alfredo pasta with chicken and broccoli. In these videos I was watching, a lot of the girls were talking about intuitive eating, which is like super trendy and all over YouTube right now. It's not like a bad thing in and of itself. I feel like there's a lot of good messaging around it, but as an individual, I have a lot of issues with intuitive eating that I just wanted to talk about. I'd mentioned in my previous clip that I struggle with depression, and as a side effect of that depression, I often have a reduced appetite. So if I were to intuitively eat, especially during depressive episodes or like months of being depressed, I would like never eat because I just wouldn't be hungry. And that's definitely been a big thing for me in my life, where I'm not feeling hungry or up to eating food because of depression and like whatever emotions I'm trying to work through. So I just don't eat, and like my parents or now my boyfriend are like, you need to eat something because your body needs food, it needs fuel, it needs energy to run. It needs the nutrients out of what you're eating to function well. So I feel like that argument of like eat when you're hungry is flawed in senses and situations like that. But also what kind of bugs me is like a lot of people, if you're teaching them just to eat intuitively, like obviously these health YouTubers are trying to eat healthy food, but if you're preaching like just listen to your body and eat what your body wants, like for a lot of people that's junk. A lot of people are addicted to sugar, or they crave saturated fats because that's what they've been feeding their body and that's what their body learns to crave. So in that sense too, like I don't want to say limiting the amount of sugar and fat and sodium and stuff that you're intaking into your body, because I think to look at it in that mindset can be very damaging and in the long term, like just not helpful for creating those habits and retaining them and actually like sticking to them. But just incorporating more fruits and vegetables and whole grains and things that are actually going to help your body in the long run and help you to be healthier and to function better and to live longer ideally. So those were just some things on my mind that I wanted to talk about. So I am just driving to work, but I've gotten to a point with food where I wouldn't say my relationship with food is unhealthy, but it's definitely, I think, less positive than it could be or than it used to be. But part of it is like the typical feeling guilty for eating different things. So I've essentially gotten to a point where my metabolism isn't as fast as it used to be, and like you can tell. So there's definitely been times where like I've had a Reese's and felt really guilty and like I shouldn't have eaten it. That doesn't happen too often. It's not like I'm eating fast food and sweets and stuff all the time, but it's just like the first time that I've ever felt guilty for eating anything or ever felt like I didn't like the way my body looked. And I know like for me it's more so the lack of physical activity I'm doing than what I'm eating. It's like I said, I'm not eating like junk food all the time. I still eat pretty healthy, like veggie sandwiches are one of my favorite things. It's just like I haven't put priority in exercising anymore, and it's just crazy to me that that kind of issue can still have some effect on my relationship with food and how I see food. Yeah, I don't know. On a more positive note with food, I feel like everything I've talked about has been really kind of negative. In terms of like what I eat and cooking and things like that, I'm way more open to trying new things, way more experimental with my cooking than I've ever been. Like food is so fun to play around with and mix flavors. And I teach cooking and about healthy food for a living right now. And it's just awesome to see people get excited about food and to try something new. Maybe they don't like what we made, but they can still take something from it. Like, I don't know, like a question I ask pretty frequently about whatever recipe I'm making is like, what would you change about it? What would you take away? What would you add? What would be different if you made this at home? What would make it better for you, easier for you? Things like that. Food is just such a thing that brings people together. Like tonight I'm going to a community harvest dinner. So there's a lot of gardens around where I live, and people are harvesting food from their gardens and making things from it to share with the community. So it's like such a thing to bring people together, because you can sit around a table and enjoy a really delicious meal and just sit and talk and get to know your neighbors and just like better get to know your friends and things like that. So food is such a cool thing, and like everybody needs food, obviously. So it's like such a thing to bring people together, and it's really cool to work in food and like bring some of that joy to people. Like it kind of feels like being a celebrity sometimes, where people are just so excited every time you come because they know that it means you're going to get to try something new and hopefully something that you like. It can also sometimes be kind of discouraging to see like such an uneven playing field, essentially, where some people in the community like have access to good and healthy food, and other people like either don't have the access, like they don't have transportation to go to the grocery store, so they can only walk to the like gas station on the corner and eat what's there, or like they just don't have the money to spend. And that's like a thing that we talk about too, is how to get healthy food when you're on a limited budget. And like it is possible. It's definitely harder, especially like the more mouths you have to feed, the more stressful it can get. And like getting a big pack of chicken nuggets can seem like it's a lot better than getting like canned beans or something. Like I said, I have the harvest dinner tonight. Tomorrow I'm teaching preschoolers in the morning. We're gonna try different colors of apples and see how they taste different. And that's like one of my favorite lessons, because the kids are always really excited about it. And like even 10 weeks into this class, I'll be like, hey, does anybody remember what we tried last week? And they'll be like, oh, the apples. Like, that was 10 weeks ago, but I'm glad you're still excited about it and like really enjoyed it. I feel like as you get older, your relationship changes a lot with food. Like I said, I wouldn't say mine's unhealthy. I think I just need to put exercise as more a priority, because my issue is just like I don't love the way my body looks all the time. But that's like a thing with getting older too, is like your body changes with age. And in other news, still food related, I had lobster and scallop ravioli last week. That was delicious. Today with a class we made this pasta. It was a gluten-free pasta, so it was kind of funky, like it broke apart really easily, which was not great. But we had like onion, squash, pepper, garlic, kale, I want to say there was one other thing in there, but I can't think of it. But yeah, like, mixing a ton of veggies together is so good. Like, the veggies just put so much flavor into it, and I topped it with a little, like, Parmesan cheese. It was delicious. So, I don't know. I don't want to say it's not hard, because for some people it is. Like, especially if you don't enjoy cooking, or, like, you just don't know what to do with produce and how to cook it. But you can make relatively simple meals that are so good and so healthy for you. And that's another thing I just need to get better at, is, like, making those at home and stop essentially being a lazy butt and, like, start cooking more produce, meal prepping more produce, doing exercise for 30 minutes a day. Where I'm at right now, my schedule isn't even that full, so I feel like I don't even have an excuse. Like, I can't be like, oh, I'm at the office until, like, 6 or 7 every day, and then I just want to, like, relax, or, like, I'm not in school right now, I don't have kids to take care of, I don't have any pets. So, I don't know, I'm just a lazy butt. Yeah, but, okay, bye.